So the other film I watched today might quite possibly be my favorite movie of the year. I was blown away by this film. I cried. Basically, my favorite movie every year is going to be a romantic film that makes me cry. Like, that's what I need out of movies. That's what I love out of movies. That's what I love watching in movies. That's why I saw Maurice twice. Y'all remember that review, which is me crying and talking about the movie. So this one was called God's Own Country, and it's written and directed by Francis Lee, and it's quasi autobiographical, just in that he grew up in Yorkshire and had to make a decision about taking over his father's farm or not. In this story, Josh O'Connor plays a young man named Johnny, whose father has just had a stroke, and whose mother, played by Gemma Jones, is sort of between the two of them. They're trying to run this farm, and they really can't. There's too much land. They have sheep. They have cows. Like, his father can't do what he used to be able to do, and they need help. So they hire a Romanian immigrant named George, or Georgie, I forget how they pronounce it, played by Alec Secareanu, yes, he's really pretty, to work, and he was a farmer in Romania before he came here. They begin to bond, and this causes a wrench in Johnny's life because he's mostly used to binge drinking and casual sex and trying to hide all his feelings and who he is from himself and from his parents. And I think and from parents who are very cold, even though they are affectionate. And in meeting this man, he begins to soften, and the two of them, fall in love, and it's really beautifully shot and really beautifully shown, and I just love people hugging. And if you ever wanted to see a movie with a hot man in a sweater feeding a sheep out of a bottle, this is the movie for you. I will say there are moments that are a little hard to watch because it is on a farm, so there's birthing scenes if you want to see a sheep being born. There's also animals dying and things like that. So it gets a little gruesome, but not gruesome in the sort of animal torture way. It's more like gruesome in the this is the reality of living on a farm way. It's very muddy. It very much captures what it's like to grow up in a mudland. I think part of what I really loved about this film was in the sex scenes. You've got some casual, doesn't mean anything sex scenes. You've got some rough, muddy, dirty, people colliding sex scenes, and then you have sweet, tender, loving sex scenes, and it's sort of the gamut of sort of sexual growth documented really well for this character. And I'm gonna spoil the ending because I know this is why I loved it so much. I was afraid that this movie was going to be one of those things where so it's like a traditional sort of romance where they don't like each other, and then they like each other, and then they have a fight, and then one of them leaves, and then maybe they're going to get back together. But in a lot of recent ones, and especially sort of independent things, they'll show the one person getting over his shit and going after the other person, and then you don't see if they get back together, and I hate that. I want the reunion. I want it. I want the grand, sweeping. I hated that movie, but Gentleman, was the Officer and a Gentleman sweeping her up in the arms sort of thing. I want that in a movie. I want it so bad. So I was afraid this wasn't going to happen because it felt like the movie was just going to end with him going after him. And I was like, don't you do this to me, movie. Don't you do this to me. And then no, they gave you this great emotional closure. A beautiful scene with Johnny finally being able to explain his feelings to somebody, truly just say what he feels and not hide from it. And then they, get to live together in the house and raise sheep and make cheese and just be happy in the sun with the sheep and his parents. And it was just it was great. So I really love passionate romances, and I love romances that you can see the two people falling for each other, and you can see the intimacy, and you can see the raw emotions, and in especially ones where people start shying away from the raw emotions because it's fucking scary, and then sort of getting over being scared, and getting that reward of making it over the hump of being scared of true emotions. And I think this movie really captures that well. This was a debut from the filmmaker Francis Lee, and it's won a bajillion international awards, and it's just a lovely film. It's in limited release right now, so if you get a chance, definitely go see it. If you love romance movies, this is a great movie for you. If you love, I don't know, I thought it was a really wonderful portrait of rural life. I just loved every moment of this movie, and it's just beautiful. A lot of people are going to compare it to Brokeback Mountain. I hate it when people compare movies to movies. Like, it's its own movie. Let it be its own movie. But it's gorgeous, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I'm probably going to go see it again. It might only be playing for a week, so I'm going to have to, like, make time. I have a bunch of other movies I need to see, but, like, sometimes I just rewatch movies a million times if I love them. This is true. So this was God's Own Country. It came out this year. It's in limited release. I highly, highly recommend this. It is beautiful, gorgeous, rich, romantic film. Probably the best romance I've seen all year. Quite possibly my favorite movie of the year. I'm going to have to see it like 4 more times. So come see it with me. Or go see it yourself. Go find it. Hopefully it hasn't already moved from your theater, because it's one of those movies that'll only play in a few places at a time. But it's so worth seeing. It's beautiful. So this is Francis Lee's God's Own Country, a gorgeous, beautiful romantic film.